So I can't say either way, but I'm just a documenter and I'm trying to document these things for you. But on the topic of trending topics, there used to be more stuff on Reddit in a couple of these forums, and I'm going to read you this Reddit article. So this is by Unfair Muscle 8741. I'm just curious what you guys think happened. I realize we don't know anything until the trial, but I'm wondering what everyone thinks about there not being any screaming. There's some thumps and creepy things said as described by Dylan and heard from the cameras, but as far as I know, no one heard screaming unless I'm unaware. How do you guys think this is possible? It seems that they were attacked in groups of 2. I'd expect the one not being attacked to be screaming bloody murder or fighting heard by Dylan, but there's nothing about that in the affidavit. Maybe he attacked them both at once. Seems like he'd have to be very skilled, which I doubt. This is just speculation. Absolutely no disrespect to the victims. I'm just really wondering what could have happened and where he got the killings to be kept quiet for the most part. That's a really tough one to read. So I immediately went down to this comment. We're going to read down because all of them are just so insightful, but this one is important, I think. It says, when Ted Bundy killed 2 women by clubbing in the Chi Omega sorority house in Tallahassee while they slept, no one heard anything. 2 additional women were also attacked. Then he goes on to say, one of those survivors was on record saying she slept right through the murders. She didn't wake up until he was right by her bedside. She had no time to scream before he disabled her with his first hit. After he left, she was conscious, but she couldn't get out of her bed and she couldn't call for help. And there were other people in the sorority house, if you didn't hear it before, that slept through the entire incident. And their doors, Ted Bundy says he didn't enter their doors because they were locked. These were the unlocked doors. We're going to read a little bit more from Reddit. So Too Bad 999 says, speaking from experience, you don't always scream when you're in a traumatic situation that puts your life in danger. It's not always like in the movies. Sometimes you are so scared, in shock, and focused on survival that your voice doesn't work. Cowboy Like Megan says, I always think I'll scream if something goes down in reality. The few times I've been involved in scary situations, I've never actually made a peep. Freezing seems to be a very common response, and if they were sleepy or drunk, I'd imagine their responses would be even more delayed. And then somebody replied to her, same. I wheezed. I couldn't breathe. I was rooted to the spot. It was like a bad dream where you just cannot scream at all. Then the Ted Bundy guy. And then one person just writes the word shock. Secure Limit 477 says, there were no screams reported when Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson were murdered. She lived in a duplex with people awake right next door. You know, everyone always talks about OJ. I don't know the case that well. I know, it's public knowledge. I never studied it, but that's really interesting. I mean, you could throw a stone into any of the other houses near OJ. Because I saw the Kardashian story thing. Thank you, Demon Dog. I appreciate. We can get a few more comments up. I honestly could not find one comment I didn't want to include. They're so good. And then Motorboat says, way back there was a vocal coach person or the like who posted, Facebook, I believe, that the dynamics of the voice and screaming. As I recall, screaming is not as easy and automatic as all of us would believe. Muse Your Name says, I thought it was, this is a tough one, so trigger warning, you guys. I thought it was puncturing of the lungs and throat that would prevent breathing and vocalization. He could have stabbed them quickly, one after the other, no chance for either of them to scream, as they both drown in their own blood. Oh my gosh, so horrific to think about and to write this. It's horrific to think about and write, but it's the subject matter we're talking about. It's difficult to, we can't put our heads in the sand. All right, so next one. I think that MM and EC were fast asleep. KG only had time to wake up and back into the corner. I suspect XK tried to warn housemates with someone's here and then had to fight for her life. I'm going to cry. This is so sad. All of a sudden, and at night, who has time to scream when you desperately try to stay when you're desperately trying to stay alive? I don't know what it is. I've just become Xana always makes me want to tear up. She's so sweet. They all are so sweet and beautiful, but yeah, I'm just gonna stop there. I think absolutely nothing of no screaming because I've seen actual videos of this is awful, of people being stabbed who did not scream at all. Got Kitten says, I think silly horror movies are to blame for this idea that natural reaction when attacked is to scream like a banshee. It really doesn't happen that way. First, it's deeply unnatural when unexpectedly faced with a predator to make noise of alarm, survival instinct. And secondly, it's physically impossible once there's trigger warning, there's a puncture to the thoracic cavity or neck. I don't know that for a fact, but if somebody's in the medical world, I mean, obviously the neck, but the thoracic cavity, I mean, it would make sense to scream. I mean, maybe the sheer pain, maybe she's referencing the pain. I think you could physically still scream. Okay. Oh, someone replied to it. Oh, no. Okay. I see both sides of the explanation people make. No screams because it was quick and some were asleep or they had to scream. The only thing that trips me up is when Ethan's SIL literally saying that DM needs to explain or okay. Yes, this is true. Oh, I made a video about this, so I'm going to read the whole thing. I made a video about this and I kept it private. It's been seen 200 times and then I made it unlisted because I'm so uncomfortable talking about the surviving people in this. But yeah, okay, I'll explain myself. Let me read the comment and then I'll explain myself. She says, the only thing that trips me up is SIL literally saying DM needs to explain herself for not calling the police after she heard screaming. And I'm 1000% sure DM heard more that night than it's not just in the PCA. Maybe I'll play the video. All right, you guys want to see it? All right, I'll show it to you. It's a little controversial, trigger warning, all alleged and speculation before I play this. Even sister-in-law also said that they should. What else is interesting is even sister-in-law being confirmed in Xana were found inside Xana's room. I think that nobody's really emphasized that. She said it as fact. She wasn't speculating in the comment. Let me show it to you. And it would really make sense why Dylan called him to break through that door that we believe had an automatic lock on it and probably needed to be broken in with force, likely with a tool like a crowbar or just brute force. So go back to Jack. So I'm going to just bring up the entire article where I was talking about his sister-in-law and those threads. And I'm going to take it from Facebook or take it from Twitter to X. And I'm going to show you some of the comments on X because they are compelling. So Nervous Garage says, you all need to get over this thing about screaming. It was way over the top and doesn't mean jack shit. Most of us that have been scared or the very worst has found out that our vocal cords shut down, and even when we want to scream, it just doesn't come out. And then somebody wrote back to him, when I was a kid, I remember being able to scream fairly loud, yet at some point, I feel like I lost the ability to somehow as an adult. It's strange to explain, but the comment makes me feel a little bit better. Shut down right now. I don't know about all these people. I scream. If somebody surprises me, I scream at the top of my lungs. I'm not saying everybody does, but I don't know why they say that.